All right, hello. Welcome to another live coding session. My name is Mike Bifulco. I am Director of Technology for thegymnasium.com, which you see here. I get on Twitch/The Gymnasium every Tuesday afternoon to live stream my job so that we can both benefit from me learning as we go. If you're not familiar with the Gymnasium, we are a free online resource. We give away, we teach, we offer, choose your verb there, free courses on web technologies from design to development to tools to time management to content creation, copywriting, strategies, all kinds of great stuff on here. If you are new to Gymnasium or if you are returning to Gymnasium, we're always rolling out with new content. One of the things that we actually let loose on the world very recently over the past few weeks was we now, the announcement's gone from the homepage because my face will be there. We now offer badging on all of our gym shorts. So if you take one of our shorter length courses, they now include badges. So if you go and you take one of these gym shorts and you complete the course, complete the final exam with a passing score, you will earn a badge which you can stick on your LinkedIn profile or print out, slap on your refrigerator, and show it off to the world. This week on the stream, we are taking on a bit of a new leaf. So if you've been with me for a while here, we had been working on a microservice for Gymnasium that uses React and Create React App and Node to consume an API and spit out some job listings for the site. For all intents and purposes, we wrapped V1 of that project over the past couple of weeks, and that's just about to be deployed into the real world, so that'll find its way to the site soon. And so kind of in an interim stage where I'm doing some exploratory work on a few projects that we're going to be looking at for the stream over the next few weeks, months-ish. And so this week is going to be one of those projects. We are, we'll surprise you to hear this, but we're considering doing something a little unorthodox on Gymnasium. As you may well know, Gymnasium is built upon a platform called Open edX, which is a massive open online courseware MOOC platform built by a company called edX that was created by Stanford University and Harvard, MIT, a few years ago that spun off into its own product. We are one of the most customized versions of Open edX sort of out there in the wild. What we're considering doing for our next major release of Gymnasium is using edX for just the courseware functionality. So that would be what you see when you go into a course and you jump into the lessons. Essentially, this experience would be provided by edX, and our courseware essentially, outside of our courseware, so the marketing pages, static pages, homepage, dashboard, profile, those sorts of things would all be provided by a web application of our design and construction. This is all open source right now, so I'm sort of free to explain kind of what we do, but one of the things that we use on Gymnasium for inclusion of static content on the site, and even some somewhat dynamic content, is we use essentially GitHub pages as a CMS to inject certain content onto the page. That has worked pretty well for us. However, it's made customizing edX itself a bit of a challenge, and we've had to do some things and make some sacrifices to not really be able to do what we want to do. And as our needs get more diverse and as our implementation gets more complex, staying with edX for just the courseware part of the experience makes a lot of sense, and migrating away from that for the other things like our homepage, which right now will load and see me on Twitch, but all of this content we are considering serving up from a static page of our own building, or possibly not a static page, a dynamic web app, whatever it may be, just something that's not inbuilt to the Django Python app that is also hosting edX. So in doing that, one of the things that we're exploring is different CMS options. And today I'm going to be using or playing around with a tool for managing CMS. It is called TakeShape. TakeShape is a relatively new product. They just opened I want to say a closed beta or have essentially an opt-in invite that just opened up over the past week or so, and we thought we would explore what it's like to use this. If you are familiar with CMSs, it's CMSE. It has we'll go through the demo and I'll show kind of what the experience is like. Basically, what we would be able to use TakeShape for is some of the sort of what you see is what you get content, so filled in. Use it for things like images and copy and articles and so on and so forth, while using an application of our design for the structure of the pages. So on the stream today in the chat, if you're viewing this on twitch.tv/irreverentmike, you will see a few visitors who are not always with us. Among them is Mark Catalano, who is with the TakeShape team. Mark, I appreciate you being here. Really cool to have you on the stream. I'll do my best to pan over to my monitor and make sure I'm not getting into too much trouble. But really cool to have you here. I appreciate the support. For full clarity, I have done nothing other than load this quick start page in terms of playing around with writing any code for this. So what you'll be seeing is my exact first experience with all of this. I have logged into TakeShape and played with the UI for the actual CMS bits, which is probably a good thing. But essentially, I'm going to start from scratch with this quick start, and you can see what that's like. And as I run through, I'll explain sort of what I'm thinking, basically essentially how I'm interpreting all this. I'll probably pepper you with questions. You'll probably see me break things, and I guess we'll have some opportunity to discuss what we're going to be doing. So with that said, I've got to find the URL so that I can log in to the CMS and pull that up as well. I do have an account, of course. There we go. All right, I'm just logging in on my second screen here so I don't accidentally share out my password. Oh, and of course I've logged out of my password manager. Give me just a second. All right, I'm logged in. There we go. So I'm going to drag this onto the screen so we can all see it. This is what the CMS side looks like. We're going to start with the sample project because that's what the demo is based on. You can see here some of this stuff looks familiar, or should look familiar if you've played around with the CMS before. There are some content types that seem to describe structures of pages. There's some settings in here. There are content lists, so authors, books, genres, and presumably ways to relate these things to one another. And basically, that's kind of the beginning of it. There's an asset library, which is, oh boy, I'm definitely going to forget my nomenclature here. I used to live in a world where implementing SharePoint sites was a big part of my life. Man, what were they called? Site libraries, something like that. I don't know. This is essentially a list of binary files like images, and I would guess also probably audio and video if those were things that we were including on the site that can be used elsewhere. So this is, just so we're fully, completely, totally clear, this is exactly how far I've gotten into the product so far. So everyone watching, you'll be learning with me, and luckily we have some cheat codes on board with Mark and team on the chat here. So let's get started. So I'll kind of read through the demo as I go here. Basically, the demo points to cloning a Git repo, which we can certainly do. So I'm just going to grab this and throw it into my terminal here. So now I've got the demo cloned. And let's open it in Visual Studio so that we're all on the same page here. We can sift through what comes with the newly cloned demo project before we actually start and run it. as it would appear, this is a Node application, so there's a fairly standard package.json file which describes the Node project with a description and an author. Let's see, it's got MIT license. Here's the homepage for the repo, yada yada. All this should sound familiar. The scripts that are included, there's an initializing script, one for starting up a server, for building, deploying, a watch script, which presumably means that we can edit on the fly and changes will refresh in browser as we change things in the code, and really just a few dependencies. All dev dependencies. That's really cool. Okay, so obviously there may be, well, there's definitely going to be more behind the scenes with what's imported, but for a demo, that's pretty simple. So let's go back to the instructions here. Okay, you can see the demo project in action here. CD, we've jumped in. I guess I could have renamed this, but we'll start here. Yarn install will install the Node packages, which is really just these three: npm run all, TakeShape, and browser sync. So that should install dependencies. Let me zoom in on this stuff before I forget. If you can't see for any reason, please let me know. I can always resize this stuff. All this stuff goes a little bit slower the first time around, and doubly so when I am live streaming and chewing up all accessible RAM on my machine. Okay, so we've run the install script, pretty standard for a Node project. We're going to run the initialize script, yarn run init. Enter your TakeShape email. Your TakeShape password. Let's do that. I'm just going to copy that from my password manager. And actually, I might do that in secret. Hang on a second. Just so I don't accidentally show off my password here. Okay. Password is entered. We're back. Okay, select a project. We're going to start with the sample project. No site's configured. You'll be able to develop locally, but will be unable to deploy until you configure a static site. Don't worry, though. You'll be able to configure a static site later on, and we'll remind you again when you try to deploy. Cool. Great. There's some GraphQL stuff that's written. Okay, do not commit these files. Add those to your ignore file. It would seem smart to do that now. GraphQL RC, GraphQL config JSON, good, and TSG. Okay, so those are already there. So next steps. Yarn start. We'll build and run the thing. It's connected to my project under the covers somewhere, and in well, in my other window here, it opened up a tab that's got the demo in it. Look at that. That was honestly very quick. That's cool. Okay, so let's read some of the information that's here. Some of this is output from the Node scripts that run. So it's running the build script from package.json, then the watch and serve scripts. Okay, so in here, there's some reloading browsers that must be coming from when code is being compiled, or when I guess the source is being compiled in whatever way it does. And we can take a look at the demo. Connected to browser sync, so that means it's connected up to the sync engine. No, I don't think we need to translate. Wow, this is great. Okay, so I should probably note just how little is in the repo at this point. So there are some GraphQL files. This is going to be fun. We'll see just how much GraphQL I know, which is like this much, that much. There's some layouts, which doesn't have a ton in it. Pages, individual pages. So right now we're probably on a book page, which has, there's an image with the book cover and an alt with its title, which may or may not come up because of all of the browser extensions I've got. It's sort of a mess over here. Book content, post header, the book title. Let's see, the home page, which is likely what I'm, actually, this would be the home page. New series release, yeah, there we go. It's got an H1, a paragraph with some content in it, within an article, within an anchor. All this is a link. Yeah, that all makes sense. A container, a section, all this. Goodness. Okay. So there's not a lot here, right? You can see that there is a templating language of some sort being used here to inject content onto the HTML page. We can figure out what exactly that is. And maybe, what was it called? Express ESX? No, it's not JSX. It's whatever scripting language came before that, I guess. That would have been out of the box with probably Express under the covers here. There are some partials here, so let's take a look at those. Nunjucks for templating. Okay, that makes sense. We've got a footer, which has a copyright, a header, which has a logo, list of books. Cool. Pagination. Some variables set in here. All kinds of goodness. Okay, nice. And you can see some conditionals that have to do with how pagination is done. Which, yeah, there's our book. So this block down here is this guy. This is excellent. Okay, so let's look at what else is in here. There's some JavaScript, some CSS, which probably has a bit of a reset, and then styles as needed to make these heroes and things like that structured. There's the icon that appears in the tabs, robots.txt, and I think that may be it. I think I might have gone through the vast majority of this stuff. That's cool. That's very simple. Of course, there's this build here, which is probably what gets compiled when the build script is run. That'd be the node build script, which might have some minified JavaScript in it, or you name it. These are essentially just compiled files. Yeah, there you go. Very cool. Okay. So let's go back to the tutorial and let's keep playing along. I'm going to unpin this just so I can find it more easily. Have fun playing around with the sample site. Change some markup on a template file, and the site will regenerate automatically. Try adding a new field to an existing content type, then adding it to the corresponding GraphQL query and template. Let's do that. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to change a title somewhere. Not in the build directory. That's probably important. We're going to change the header. So let's take a look on here. Very simple header with just a logo on it inside of a nav block. Wow. See if I struggle through typing anymore in a day. Save my changes here. And there you go, they appeared. And if I take this out, it should disappear. All I've done is hit save. Piece of cake, it's gone. Cool, that all makes sense. Presumably I could inspect this and make some style changes too if I really wanted to. So, nope, that's not what I wanted. Yeah, so there's a flex box used here. I could do flex start, flex end, all that stuff. Actually, I would want that for this. Yeah, nice. Cool. Okay, so if I wanted to go and change that, I could go find this rule inside of the CSS file and update that, which is here probably. Oops. What is that? We want dot page header nav justify content flex start. Sweet. Yeah. Wow. That's very quick. Excellent. Cool. So there's a new templating language to me here, but it doesn't look super unfamiliar if you use things like handlebars, mustache, even some of the Mako stuff we do in Python. They all look somewhat familiar. Obviously, there will be quirks and things like that to get used to. Okay, so let's go back to the tutorial. It said, try adding a new field to an existing content type, then add it to the corresponding GraphQL query and template. Let's do that. This is where, if anything, will show my lack of understanding of GraphQL. It's this. So let's go to the book content type. Let me just make sure I didn't misread that. Add a new field to an existing content type. There we go. So we're going to go to book. We're going to hit settings. Gonna add a field. This is really cool. Oh, let's do... Oh, so you can define relationships and all kinds of stuff. Wow, there's a lot in here. Okay, cool. So let me just digest this for a second here. So this is the book content type. They have a title, a name, and a description, which is, of course, what we were seeing here. So title, there's a lot in here. Okay. Oh, because this shows the whole relationship. I see. Wow, okay. Title. Oh, this is the title of the content type. I see. Okay, that makes more sense. So this could be, this is metadata about this content type. As in information about books. What books are. That shouldn't break anything in theory. This will still just exist there. So if I wanted to go and add, let's say, I'm going to add a rating maybe to a book. So we're going to, it has a published date. That's what I was thinking I was going to add. Total pages. Yeah, we'll add something like a rating. So we're going to drag a number in here. We're going to call this rating. Name rating. Rating for this book from 1 to 100. Required integer, minimum 0, maximum 100. Yeah, we'll make this an integer. That sounds good. Not required necessarily. And then we'll update this. And so if I come into, which book are we looking at? Follow the Rabbit. Eh? We'll give Peter Pan a rating. Oops. Sorry, I'm getting lost in all my tabs here. Okay. We're going to give this one a rating of 92 and hit save. Then if I come in here, it won't show up because there's no default rating included in the template, which makes sense. And if I go to this books.graphql and I add rating, sort of arbitrarily, Hopefully that doesn't break anything. Check the console here. Yeah. Okay. And let's do the book template, pages, published. Okay, so that's this line here. We'll put it right here. Why not after pages? So we're going to do nice. And I could also do, there's my cat. Yeah, very cool. So I added a content type, put it onto my page in a way that makes sense. Cool. That's really cool. Okay. Back to the tutorial we go. When you're done tinkering and ready to put your site online, follow these steps. Configure a static site in the TakeShape web app. Open your project in TakeShape. Click on Static Sites from the project drop-down menu. Click the New Static Site button. Give your site a name such as Production or Staging. Select your provider in the appropriate and enter in the appropriate credentials. Use the CLI to point your local development folder to the static site you just created. And then deploy. Wow, okay. Very interesting. There's some local dev tips here. Relationship fields. Wow, lots of cool stuff here. Okay, well, let's see what we can do to start breaking it. Really interesting. Actually, I want to look at some of the API stuff here. Wow, there's a lot here. Okay, tell you what, let's I want to see what I can do to, I don't know, maybe just add some new content to the site. At the risk of making things too gymnasium-y from the onset, I'm going to add, let's see. This is interesting. So I'm not really sure single content types versus multiple content types. This must be like collections of things, whereas you'll only ever have one home page and one set of site settings. That makes some sense. So we're going to add a multiple content type. Ooh. There we go. We're going to call this full courses. And that's a good enough description. Pardon me turning around. My cats are fighting to the death over there. Okay. So we're going to have full courses. They are going to have a title. My God. Single line of text for the title. is the course title. The instructions, I don't know that I need. This is required. Minimum length, doesn't matter. We don't need any pattern validation. We're going to have markdown for the description. Actually, this will be about. This is the blurb used on the course about page before a student enrolls. Good, that is required. We're going to use a paragraph for the description. That will be required, and that might be good for text bits. We do need an image. Asset. Not entirely sure what that is, actually. Okay. Let's see, a date time for the course course release. We'll call it release date, course release date. Featured. Set this to true to feature the course on the home page. Assets are for any kind of binary file, images, video, audio, PDF. Yeah, great. Okay, that's great. That's exactly what we want. So this is going to be the course image. We only have one course image. This is the image representing the course. I guess that's a good enough title. The image used to represent this course on the catalog. And then we also have a radio button field, and this is going to be course type. So we have a couple of different course types that are offered. I'll probably have to go back and change these to reflect what's actually there. But essentially on Gymnasium, when you go to the catalog, you will see, hey, there I am. Hello. You'll see each of our courses have a color associated with them. So this red, purple, a sort of teal, a green. Each of those colors are meant to categorize the course by essentially the subject area. I don't have a good idea of what those formal areas are called, but it looks like there's 4: red, green, purple, teal. That might be it. Red, purple, teal, green. Yeah, that's it. Okay. So these should probably be, so they have a label and a value. The value should probably be the color that we're going to use. So I'm going to call red, it's going to be Okay, green, we'll start with green. Green is going to be tools and technologies, and we'll grab that color value. So Gymnasium kind of does some tricks with these colors here and there. We'll grab that as a hex. Oh, I don't have it stored as hex. Even better. All right. green, red, what did I have? Teal and blue. So we're going to call the green one is tools, and red might be developer technology, and this was red, and blue did I have blue? No, purple. Huh? Oh boy. Okay, so we're going to call red design and purple dev tools. Getting lost. And then teal was UX, maybe? Okay, we'll call that good enough. I'm sure there will be corrections to that. Okay, so let's say that that is entirely the content type that represents what a course is. Let's create a new full course. We're going to start with the very top here. I'll just make one or two of these. Ooh, those are out of order. Interesting. Let's see if I can fix that. Well, these might be presented in alphabetical order. No. I just messed it up. Cool. This is a good enough order of things. So now if I go and try and create a course image, choose, sweet. We're going to save this image out to my desktop. Oh, interesting, right. So this would have to be uploaded to the asset library. Okay. Great, that is uploaded. So if I were to, let's see. Try that again. It doesn't seem to want to select it. Tell you what, let's try a quick refresh here. About, I'm going to grab the about page for this course. There's an awful lot here, so I'm just going to grab some of it. We don't actually have this in markdown format, so we'd have to go back in and format all this stuff. That's not a big deal. I can prove that it's markdown. Nice, okay. Release date, we'll choose today. Timestamp, not super important. This one's not featured. This one's going to be a dev tool, and save. Great, so now we've got coding for designers. Let's see if I can get this image to select. No, that's not working. Drag and drop. That makes sense. Got it. I would have gotten there eventually. Replace. Cool. So now if I save this and I go back, that's all there. View an API Explorer. Tell me about that. Oh, that's so good. This is exactly what would have taken me forever to do. Nice. Okay, cool. So let's nice. Okay. Oh, this is so good. So full courses GraphQL. Paste this in here and compare. To put a query in front of it. That's great. So now I've got full courses added. There may have to be some actual use of that somewhere in here, but we've got that. I'm going to make a full course page. This is interesting. I don't think I saw this before, the landing and the post page type before. And basically, from here, we need extends to say which layout it extends. That makes sense. So we might have multiple layouts. We need, let me close some of this dross here. Block content. That probably explains where it goes within that template. Okay. And then we can start filling in from the content type. Is that right? I'm sure I'll figure that bit out. It's cool. Yeah, this is really cool. Right, so this is where this content is defined. Includes a header, includes a footer, includes some JavaScript. So if I wanted to include, let's say, Google Analytics or something, I could put that here. Block title. Wow. Okay. Well, let's get messy here. So I'm going to indent because that seems reasonable. Let's look at what's going on in the book here. All right. They don't indent. We won't indent. Let's see if we can get that much to display. Which I forget which course I actually put in here. Coding for designers. Let's see if this works. Cannot get. Okay, so I might need to do some wiring up, or I might have that ID wrong. Ah, there we go. Okay, this looks like it defines routes. Alright, that theoretically triggered a reload, a refresh. Just out of curiosity. Okay, so that's not exactly wired up. So that's good. So let's look at what's happening here. So this has, oh, you know what? I might need to build this again. No, actually, because watch was running there, I think that'd be okay. No paginated fields. Aha. Data full courses.graphql. There might not need to be any. So what's paginated in here? Query get book list. Total items. Oh, okay, okay. Actually, I might not even. Oh, and this is just one specific ID. So that would get me the one course. Okay, I'm going to open these side by side. Let's compare this GraphQL here. So, yeah, admittedly, I'm not super well versed in GraphQL, but it looks like get full courses. Let's see. We're gonna copy this almost exactly here. So total, and then items, and then the items will have a list of these things. Oh, and I think I may not have, I don't need this paginate bit because I don't have any, no paginated fields. That's not a super helpful error for me at the moment. But I suspect that if I came in here, there might be a field type that I could use that would, something like a repeater. Yeah, okay. Something that would inherently be paginated. Let's restart this thing again. Template, haha, I misspelled something. Okay. Template not found. Pages/full course is why. Oops. I have a zillion tabs open by the time this is done. Okay, so I don't see any errors that time. It built. So if I went to there, no. /name. Oh, I see. I don't have a name. I have a title. I'm not entirely sure I need to keep resetting this thing. Okay. Oh. Certainly making a right mess of all this, but that's half the fun. You'll want to use the paginated query. Aha, okay. Oh, this, I get it, I see. Okay. So this is how it knows where to query those from. And this is going to be course. I see. Okay. And that's because I've arbitrarily called this course here. And what I may end up yeah, that's okay. Actually, that's okay. This probably from the onset should have been called courses, and we probably should have courses and gym shorts. We can go through and do that renaming at some point. Oops, I may need to reset this thing again. Oh, sorry, I'm like ignoring the heck out of the chat here. Let's see, should be get full courses list in the GraphQL file. Yes, good. And you'll want to use the paginated query and have the item be named course. We did that, and that is because that matches this. Okay. Should be full courses / course : course title. Ah, I see. Is that because this? Yes, okay. And because I didn't just call this title, because look at me. And it'll be course title in my template file. Right, okay. So I should probably just go and rename that content type, or that field on the content type, once I get this working. So because that all is redundant and silly, but we're getting closer. Aha. It worked. That's awesome. Okay. That's really cool. So that title, this guy, title, and then the title matches. If I go back and I grab this, and let's just see how badly I can break everything by adding Unicode in there. Yeah. Cool. Oh, because it's compiled statically in theory. Yeah, nice. I see. This is all adding up. Okay, so now that as I'm learning how this all works, what I'm gonna do is change a bunch of stuff already because I hate what I've done to myself from the onset. So we're gonna rename this to courses.graphql. We're gonna do courses here, courses, course, great, great. This is gonna be title, and this would be something like, well, I'm just gonna go break the crap out of everything. I'm sure someone's grimacing somewhere at me doing this. I guess I can leave that title and update this. I also need to change that to just title. Oh yeah, then I need to go in here. Title, please. This is okay. Okay, there is something. Render paginated template. Courses, course title, variable, course title, returned undefined. There we go. Okay. That's much nicer. It's a nicer URL, which I guess I could have just changed by changing that. This is great. And actually, this course type might turn into a relationship because Gymshorts will have the same selection of course types. And we may want to include more metadata about those course types than just a color. So yeah, okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down here. Sweet. Nice. This is really great. So let me see if I can briefly recap what's going on here. So what we've done is we created a multiple content type, meaning a list of full courses, which are now called courses. If I refresh this, ooh, maybe not. Oh, right, because I left it as full courses here. Our full courses are a list. I've added one, and the metadata about that thing is an image, a title, a description, a markdown that represents the about section for it, the type of course, whether it's featured or not, and a release date. I can include that stuff in this template by saying something like that, which may or may not work. There might be a trick to actually getting markup to come out. Let's do I see. So send it through a markdown processor. I should also make sure I've got the right name. Ah, there it is. Oh, right, this is an old URL. Nice, and of course this isn't actually markdown code, so that's why you see a bunch of markup around it, because I just copied and pasted a bunch of our junk into there, which has, well, there's definitely markup in here somewhere, I would think. Maybe not. Of course. Is that how you do that? Oh. Nice, very cool. Okay, and so you could see how this would come together pretty quickly, where we could take and sort of because of how malleable this becomes, we could have our content creators, our course editors, so to say, going into TakeShape and editing this markdown and looking at the preview essentially to produce the content that gets compiled into the site here, which falls into the layout in the page of sort of my choosing as I design those pages. The other behaviors could be achieved. This is featured, for example. We could use that within an iterator of some sort on something like a home page to put only featured courses, something like this, like a featured book. If I had a list of featured courses like this, like we do on our home page, I could choose to only include featured ones in that list. That all makes sense. There's other layout types that, or sorry, other, what are they called? Content types that we can use. These single content types represent the content needed for a specific page. So, for example, our home page has a header, which is usually an image, except for when I'm coding, it turns into this stream of myself, which I'm only viewing because I'm very, very self-important here. There's a bunch of content on here, but some of these featured courses would come from those iterators, and that's how we would create exactly these objects. We would need metadata about the author of the course and links to link to within the courseware. But for example, if we wanted to include something like, let's say we had a promotion or something like that, or these as seen in, these would be great examples of additional content that we might include on a homepage, where it'd be a second sort of content type that's included. There's also the ability to embed some JavaScript. So where did we see that? That was in here. So if I wanted to do something in here, like add some interactivity, I could do that here. If I wanted to add styles, I can do that with CSS here. Mark and company, do you know if there's any planned support for Sass or less in the future? That would be useful to me. Geez, what else would we need to do? I mean, configure a header and a footer, throw a bunch of links in there, make some static pages for all of these things, which could have their own content types within the CMS. Responsivity is all handled by style sheets, and then it would just have to do the correct handoff between A and B, so between the marketing site that would be hosted somewhere and configured with our DNS to only consume certain URLs, and then the CMS side, these bits would be handled by OpenEdX. So there would be some sort of collaboration between the two code bases necessary to make them look the same, but as we're seeing, most of that's already there from our current implementation. Neat. Okay. So let's get a little messy, and I'm going to try and create a new content type for our course types. I don't know if we actually have a formal name for these, but course types makes enough sense. Okay. General content areas that represent the different types of courses we offer. Our approach to Sass and Less is that it's good to bring your own build process. Anything that ends up in the static folder gets pulled into the static site. Right now we recommend Webpack. Yeah, that totally makes sense. So use something like Webpack, maybe even in concert with this watch command. We might add something like a watch Sass, which does a Webpack blah blah to run a Webpack command that compiles Sass down into CSS and then spits it out into the static folder, which is this here. So static style sheets, that's where it would spit that out, which would then get sent into the build folder under style sheets later on, presumably. And of course we would add something like and npm run all watch. Yeah. Nice. Okay, so back to where I was. These course types. There's going to be multiple for these. These are going to have a color. That's cool. Yes, that's exactly right. The color. They should probably have a title. Name, description. This is such a strange meta abstract-y thing to describe. That is required. Right now, all they really have is a title and a color. So we're going to create that, and we'll create a few of those. This is going to be dev technologies, and let's take a look at some of these. So purple, I'm just going to grab a random purple here. And UX, and I think that was I'm sorry, teal. Great. and design was red. Like red you could bring home to your mama, and green for tools. Tools and strategies, we'll call it. Green. I should go and get those actual hex codes, but neither here nor there at the moment. So, if I wanted my full courses to have a relationship to a course type, oh yeah. So we'd have to go and delete that field. Confirm title. Okay. Then configure this relationship. Description. Not really necessary here. This is required. Allowed content type, so you can have one course type. And we'll update this content type, and then we have to go in here and give it a course type. Yeah, so this is going to be dev technologies, and then save. And then now we have to update our query. Which has a bit more information in it now. Or a bit more, it's different. It's not about more or less. Okay, so we've got about course image. Course type now has a relationship, which we can paste in here and indent as apropos. And we probably don't need the color as all of these. We can probably just use the hex because we know that this is going to get styled, CSS. Description, let's see, okay. Course type, this one now is gone. So title, may as well keep these in the right order. Description is featured, release date, and title. So now, theoretically, if I start this up, come back here. Oh, I lost my URL. Okay, so that's not broken yet. So if I came in here and I did a let's see, how would I do this? We're going to do style equals E. I'm not sure this will work. Course type dot color dot hex. Do not use empty rule sets. All right, color. Maybe. Well, let's just get this thing to echo out first. Gotta be careful with case sensitivity. There we go. Okay, so I've got my color being set out. Ah, look at that, it's purple. Hard to tell. Might not even be able to see it over the stream. Oops, what am I doing? Background color. There we go. Neat. That's pretty cool. So, and it probably doesn't need to tell you that the title is the title. I also probably don't need to have this icon in here any longer. But this is awesome. I see the point here. I'm getting it. It makes sense to me. There are some interesting questions that this brings up. I wonder, let's just, for the sake of insanity here, I want to see what it would be like to include our recent project in here. So, pardon me for a second, I'm just running off to GitHub in another tab. Grabbing a URL. Yeah, this is really cool, guys. I appreciate your help. This is going to get dangerous in a hurry. So, let's just say, for sake of example, that I had, this is going to start looking really gross in a hurry, but at the bottom of this page, maybe, on my course page, I had another div that I wanted to include within this div an iframe. Well, I don't even need it to, yeah, whatever. Within this guy, there's an iframe, and let's say we've got some Heroku app that I want to include there for sake of it. And some metadata about it. Some style rules that are spelled correctly, and yeah, let's say I included an iframe there for sake of it. That's so cool. Yeah, so this is last week's project that's now included here, and of course I don't have the magic scripts in here to resize this iframe, but that's actually not too hard to do, because all I need to do is add this script tag. Okay, let's see. So on my default, yeah, let's say I wanted to include another script that we use elsewhere, and then call that script, call that script from within here, perhaps. Might that work? Not quite, but there's probably some figuring to do there. I could also really just give this a height. Right. Super cool. Yeah, wow. We can start to do lots of really cool stuff with this. So this is a dynamic bit of content that is included from Heroku web app that we've built. This is React behind the scenes. This is coming from the CMS. This is running locally. I think we can get in trouble with this. This is cool. Nice. Yeah, so with about 10 minutes before I sign off for the day, I guess, so I think I get it. I think I understand what's happening here. I'd be curious if you guys have any questions for me. I'm certainly willing to answer them now. We can also, always happy to chat and help and further on down the line, but if there's anything you want me to look at or try or something I might have missed, I'd love to hear about it. Otherwise, we'll probably take this proof of concept a little bit further and really try and build out, like, for example, a gymnasium-looking header and footer to wrap around it and all the correct page types, and string along with some SAS compilation through Webpack as well. Yeah, I don't know. Any questions? Any thoughts? This is really cool. I appreciate Mark and Ale Sprouse and Eric and anyone else who's come along to help. Really nice to have you guys here. Some participation is always a good thing. Yeah, okay. I mean, I'm not going to carry this on too much further today because I don't want to get halfway down implementing something and then have to wait until next week. Really cool to be able to give this a shot. I'm sure we'll be able to take this a little further and kind of push the limits of what's doable and not doable and figure all that out. And yeah, if I have any feedback, I will drop you guys a line. Yeah, super cool, you guys. Thanks so much for hanging out. I will be back on next Tuesday, and we'll possibly be taking a few weeks off after that because I'll be out of the country for a bit. But if bandwidth allows, I may do live streams for the next few weeks while I'm abroad too. Yeah, this is really cool. Thank you so much, guys. I will at some point create a repo for exploring this a little bit further, and it's open source, so you guys are more than welcome to jump in there and take a look. We love pull requests. Thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate it. Y'all have a great week. I will be back next Tuesday doing more of the same of this, carrying on with this project a little bit further. And yeah, thanks for building a really cool tool. This is something that deserves some attention, and I think I hope that we can find a way to use it and get this out in production. Oh yeah, I'll find my way into your Slack team too. Thank you, everyone.